the Rangers Journal now.
Hello and welcome to the Rangers Journal. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Look, there's no sugarcoating this. When we go through a run of bad results or not great results as we have recently, there's no real easy podcast to do. There's no happy moments that we can sit in glee over some small part of the team or a player, for instance. But we're going to go over, not the game in particular yesterday, but just where Rangers are in general, the whole club top to bottom, a kind of overview of what's happening. I'm not doing this alone as usual. My podcaster from another mother, Cammy, how are you, mate?
I am good. I'm looking forward. I'm glad that we're not going over what's happened over the last couple of games and talking in a more general fashion. It's only 24 hours since I done the post match, so I've more than done my time with regard to that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's always good to have a free hours therapy session.
And go clockwise, Ryan. How are you, mate?
Doing fine. I appreciate these podcasts. It helps me go over the PTSD of the match. So appreciate being able to sit down. I feel that's almost a therapy session, to be honest, more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, you'd just be doing it to your mates in a text message kind of group, wouldn't you? So it's fine to do it here for the public. And Scott Mackay, how are you getting on tonight, mate?
Aye, not bad at all, mate. I'm laughing at the first comment already. That just sums up the mood, doesn't it? Come on, sick of it.
I'll need to go to the comments. What I did want to say is, I know what it's mate. What I did want to say in the comments, we're going to talk about the club as a whole, as I was saying. Feel free to stick some questions in for us if you'd like us to go over anything in particular. But Cammy, the first thing we can really focus on, or we need to focus on with the club, is the manager, mainly because that's the easiest and quickest thing we could change. But we're not in a good way at the moment. He's got just over 50% win rate since his time being at the club. Now that includes the time last season when he took us to top of the league, but it soon kind of crashed and burned after that. Looking at Clement and the squad he picks or the teams he put out, do you think he even knows what his best starting 11 is?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think he stumbled upon the two striker option with Igaman and Danilo. I think not by design. I genuinely don't believe that was something that it was almost just thrown together. That's what I've thought for a long time, that we don't look an organised side in or out of possession. It's very much as if the players are just put out in the park and sort it for yourself sort of situation, and hope an individual comes up with something. But I mean, those stats, Billy, I think if you were to take it back to March when the wheels came off to now, I mean, he had a fantastic period between November and the end of February where we all started to believe that we were going to win the league and all that sort of stuff. And the next 9 months has been a complete car crash. To be honest with you, it's just regressed. And he's brought in players that he wanted. Might not have been the first choice, but he has spent money. He has cut back the squad and what have you. So this is very much his team. But from game to game, it's just like somebody joked about, like all the names in a hat, and he's just pulling them out at times and saying, right, you go and play there and you go and play there. So I don't think he knows his best team, which, what are we, end of December? You know, that's quite laughable, that you don't know how you want to play and how to get the best out of £4.5 million signings like Diomande, who, you know, just looks like an imitation of the footballer that joined us and showed such promise in the early days.
And Ryan, I'll stick with you on the kind of same subject, but I did want to bring up the thing Cammy was mentioning there, that he's changed to the kind of two striker formation. We were, well, see, not all of us, I'm sure maybe you were different, but we were calling for something like that way back in September, October time, and only now has he changed it. Arguably, maybe didn't have the fit players, or you know, Igaman maybe wasn't up to speed, but we all knew that Dessers wasn't working. So just your thoughts really on the Clement and the team he's putting out.
I think he found it by fluke, to be honest with you. My opinion is the Rangers' best 11 is the team that beat Kilmarnock 6-0 quite recently. If you actually look at the personnel we had there, I was having a look at it and I'm thinking, how can we go from... I mean, Derek McInnes usually sets himself up pretty well against us, but usually gives us quite a tough time. Obviously beat us earlier on in the season as well. And I'm looking at the team that played Kilmarnock that day, and Rangers were brilliant that day. But only 4 of the players that actually started that game outfield played yesterday. So he's found a solution, he's got it working well, and for whatever reason, he's destroyed it. He's just not picked it. He's went from a situation where he's got a formula, he's got a team working well, playing well, he's scoring a lot of goals, he's entertaining, he's putting pressure on the teams above us, and then he's basically shit the bed, for want of a better expression. I can't get my head around it.
Scotty, if I come to you on the same thing, one thing I was thinking is it was already mentioned in the comments actually, this sports science thing, he seems to have rested a lot of players yesterday, I'm assuming with the Old Firm in mind on Thursday, and he's drawn another game or dropped more points. Is he putting the sports science ahead of really points? Because 3 points against Celtic are the same 3 points against Motherwell.
Aye, and it's ultimately going to cost him his job. But I am very old-fashioned. Like, I think if 4 years on this pod, I'll be of the same opinion that Davy Weir in the run-up to Manchester played 62 matches, something along game lines. Now we're getting told that if Václav Černý and Hamza Egaman plays as many minutes to hit a red zone and it increases our chances of injury. I'm sorry about Rangers, but take that and stick it right in the bin, right? We've got games to win. We've got a fan base that badly needs a bit of success. There's gaps through all the club. There's a manager that doesn't know what he's doing from top to bottom because he's trusting sports science. This is where I believe in it in terms of recovery, right? But see for the using it to shape your team selection, and then it's affecting results. But it's going to cost him his job. I've always said 2 things. Cyril Dessers would cost him his job, not signing a striker, and now it's going to be sports science day. And I'm probably sure that Cammy would feel the same way about a 6, because me and him have had a wee kind of back and forth since January that Rangers need a number 9, Rangers need a 6. We'll probably face summer, not since January. But it's just, it's murder from top to bottom. And I don't like to give sports science department too much stick, because they're only putting suggestions out. You know what I mean? That this could happen and that could happen. And I see why we're focusing on it with the injury records last season. But to me, the injury records don't seem to be getting much better. Do you know what I mean? And there's got to be an element of common sense in falling into it. How could Cortes not come on for the last 20 minutes against St Mirren? When Yanis Hadji's absolutely knackered, you can see it. If we get 60 minutes against Motherwell, Egaman comes on off the bench and scores 2 for left. There's just something not right with it.
What comes out to me is squad mismanagement, mate, and I'll stay with you because we've been going as a podcast for a little over a year, and from the whole time you've been on, you've been saying we need to sign a starting number 9. So if you've been calling for it, where's the little thing in Clement's head that, oh, he's not good enough, or he's not suited for this league? I don't want to put our players down saying not good enough, but Dessers hasn't been consistent enough in this league to score against the teams he needs to score against. So and I'm not saying, I know you were on the Shankland bandwagon. That wasn't who I wanted, but we've not went out and signed any. I mean, we signed a backup, an Egaman, and by luck, at least, maybe not just luck, but it's turned out he's doing okay. But he's lost half the season by not getting a starting striker.
Aye, and ultimately it's going to cost him his job. It's when it all comes back, don't he? The players he's had weren't good enough when they came in. So he's moved out Deadwood, like Sam Lammers, etc. With as a club, the fees received for that were absolute. We've had our pants pulled down. I know it had to be done, right? But for a guy that was playing like he was in Holland, to get him as in a combination at £800,000, just a joke. And mixed in among that with Todd Cantwell, we've been run wrong from top to bottom. But in terms of a striker, I fully believe that if we'd signed Lawrence Shankland in January, we would have won the league last season, because he would have scored 2 goals needed at Ross County. Me and you were in the press box at Dundee, Billy. We couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. You see when Danilo or Egaman are up front, what they bring to the team in terms of link-up play. Cyril Dessers just sits up against his defender, doesn't do nothing else, doesn't move, doesn't run channels. Even when he gets in the box, he's hitting over the bar half the time. He had a chance yesterday at Fir Park that he should have buried. He could have taken time to take a touch and stick it in the bottom corner. He flung a left foot at it, and it was an easy save for a keeper. it's wrong that Clement is seeing this as a winning formula. Because see, even and if you think that's good enough in your striking department, I believe Danilo and Igaman are good enough, but they've not been there. They've not been fit. Your third number 9. Now, whether it's going to be Shankland or, I mean, we done that scouting video. Is that boy Yamada or Tanaka? Yamada, I think he was called. There's loads of players out there. There's loads of goal scorers out there. You just need to bring one in that's going to fit and put a ball in the back of the net. And I'm sorry, Cyril Dessers is not that guy. I never want to see him in a Rangers jersey again. I was angry when he never stepped up to take a penalty against that mob. Your number 9 should be the first one to put his horn up. But he's come back into the team and he's cost you a couple of points. Not just him, but I'm angry and I suppose Dessers is just getting a lot of it. Just now, Billy, because of the question.
Ryan, is there an argument that players have regressed under Clement and his style of play and his coaching?
Possibly. I think maybe an example of that would be Diamandi, who seemed to come in and let the header on fire. I think he scored in his first 2 games. I don't think he scored since. Sorry, talk nonsense. He scored a good goal against Nice there. But possibly. I don't see anyone certainly accelerating and becoming far better players. Maybe Eagleman. Don't know. Didn't really know too much about him before he came in. But there's certainly, I don't think I'm seeing as much progress with certain players, especially young players, that I would like to have seen done.
And Cammy, we just look disorganised, and that can't be. The players must be going out with some instruction, but either they don't know how it works, or it's not a formula that they're able to play.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think the manager said a lot post-match yesterday, and he spoke about an evolution, which was an interesting one, an evolution that isn't obvious to those from the outside. Now, for me, an evolution is that you actually see what is being worked on. I don't expect to be at Auchenhowie Monday to Friday and actually see what's going on behind the scenes. The proof that's in the pudding is what you're watching on the pitch. And my view has been consistent pretty much since pre-season. You know, we look disorganised. I think that they are set out with a plan of sorts. I think we've got analysis and we do all the sort of things. But to me, the players don't look as though they understand the instruction, buy into the instruction. I genuinely think they have now down tools. I think the last 2 games are. We've seen this Groundhog Day before under previous managers. The players aren't having them. Even the amateur psychologist in me, you look at the body language of the players at the final whistle, and you can see Raskin and Igaman, and they're having the conversation like that. There's obviously things going on that players aren't sure about this, aren't sure about. It's the same as any workplace. When you're not sure about your gaffer, we conversations are going on, sort of situation. So I think the players I think rallied a little bit. Clement came through with a formula by luck, as Ryan says, but I just don't think we look. The players just don't look as though they buy into what the manager wants, to be honest with you.
And Scotty, it's been mentioned in the comments as well. The interview yesterday with James Tavernier, he doesn't directly take any digs at the manager, but it certainly didn't seem like he's particularly confident in him. I mean, do you think Clement still has the club, the team, and do you think he's got the right personality to even have a job like the Rangers job?
See, to be honest with you, Billy, I never watched Tavernier's post-match reaction because it's bitterly disappointing. So you ever hear of him, it's the same stuff. What else was it you asked me about? Come on here, sorry, I missed that.
Just if he's in general, does he have the personality to control a dressing room that is required to have a winning Rangers team?
No.
He's tall enough, but that's not enough.
I don't think even your captain has probably got players on side, to be honest with you, because I don't know, Tavernier's forms, he's come back onto a bit of a game of criticism, and the narrative around him's changed, but in terms of Clement's not somebody that strikes me as when he first came in, there was certainly a presence there that isn't there now. And you know, when you used to we always revert back to Walter, right? But when you used to look at Walter, no matter what kind of phase Rangers were in terms of form, that presence was there 24/7 because that was the making of the man. And it's no other way, boss. It almost looks as if there's just a kind of a shoulder shrug now in terms of come on. This is becoming a reluctant acceptance amongst everybody that this is the way it's going, and that there's not going to be an end game anytime soon. That's the bit that's worrying me. Celtic beat us at Ibrox. I don't think Clement will go, and that's the bit that's kind of baffling me. We've heard nothing from the club. They're going about their business quietly in the background of fixing this department, that department, but you need to fix the FITBA department really soon. Do you know what I mean?
Ryan, there's a bit of an enigma when it comes to European games under Clement because we've had good results. There's no denying that, but he hasn't brought a style of football that wins you matches regularly in the Scottish Premier League. So is that alone a reason for to say he needs to go? He's not going to cut it in the Premier League. But before you answer that, there's more money available in Europe. So did the board go, well, we need to go with the money?
Possibly. I mean, it's... My mate said to me yesterday, has he actually been told, don't worry about the league, just make sure you do well in Europe and you keep your job? Which terrifies me if that's the case, because that's not what we want. As fans, that's not what we want. I've actually been thinking about, I've actually about an hour ago thinking about how do we see the manager away? And there were obviously everyone's talking about sports science and don't let sports sciences pick your team and pick your own team and be the strongest guy in the building and stuff. But this whole sports science thing seems to have come out the blue in the last kind of couple of weeks, last 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm thinking to myself, where's this came from? And it's actually not that far long ago that Coppin became the guy who was looking after the analytics, the performance, the medical side of it. So what influence has Coppin all of a sudden now got over the picking of the team? Because it seems to be since he's got his promotion and the new physios come in, that all of a sudden we seem to be really worried about sports science. So if you do say to Clement, right, you're underperforming, we're going to get rid of you, we bring a new manager in, is Coppin going to be still saying to the new manager, by the way, sports science is picking the team and you're not picking the team? So are we sacking the manager? He's, cut off our nose to spite our face? And should we actually be looking at the whole side of things? And it's the way we are analysing our players, it's the way we're doing. I mean, we're talking about David Weir playing 60-odd games. It's not that uncommon that I think Goldson played 50-odd games, Tavernier played 50-odd games, and Aribo played nearly 60 games, I think, on the run to the Europa League final. And that's 2 years ago. So you should be going and sitting down to your boys and say, right, how you feeling? I'm tight, Gaffer. Can I get a rub down? Any chance I get a wee cut of painkillers, good deep heat, bit of a massage? I'll go and give you everything I've got. You'll see when I'm ready to come off. I don't understand this. We seem to just lining ourselves. We seem to set ourselves up to fail every single time, and it's no fair to us boys like Eagleman and Cherny to come on and try and salvage situations which weren't there doing as well. It's bonkers, absolutely bonkers.
I agree with that. The only thing I remember, I don't think he used the word sports science, but certainly when they came in last season and we had a lot of injuries, he mentioned about them not being managed properly, but it certainly wasn't under the guise of the sports science that we're hearing recently. Cammy, yesterday, I know we're not going to go over the game, but his starting lineup, I think it was Dean in our comments said he'll bring on Cherny and Eagleman when we're 2-0 down. And lo and behold, that's what happened. We as supporters are seeing this. So his starting lineup yesterday for me was baffling. He did play the two strikers at least, which is one thing. But the other thing that kind of comes to mind is recently is his substitutions seem to be baffling as well. They seem to be just, we better bring on Dowell for some reason.
I done the pre-match yesterday, and I think the Rangers support as a whole was all in agreement that there was a few head scratchers. Cortez wasn't considered able to play for 15-20 minutes at Paisley, yet starts a game in blustery conditions on a heavy pitch after 4 months of not playing any football. Desser's clearly low on confidence, and Kieran Dowell, to be honest with you. The manager, a lot of managers have favourites, and I think he obviously, I've heard stories about Dowell in the past that he's a great trainer, He must be a brilliant trainer, because he's not turned up on a pitch in an actual match since he signed for Rangers, to be honest with you. But to go back to the sports science, how do you not just start with the best team? Cherny and Igaman both played for 57 minutes because the game lasted for 112. So see if they've only got an hour in their tank, play for an hour, get the game won, then take the subs. We talk about sports science. It's no rocket science. Do you know what I mean? It's like put the team on the park that's going to win the game, get the game won, and then make the changes. You know, football, we know just at Rangers, football has become overcomplicated. It's not a difficult game, but there's people that have got fancy titles in sports science, and the manager was a great one for building a durable squad, players that could play every 3 days. All the waffle that he's came out with across the last 4 or 5 months. So suddenly in the last 2 weeks, that durability, I'm sure he said 2 or 3 weeks ago that the players were becoming better at handling games every 2 or 3 days. So what, as I think Ryan says, what's changed? What's changed with regard to it's just baffling, to be honest with you.
Scotty, I know you were saying a wee minute ago that if he loses the Old Firm game, you still fully expect him to be the manager for the Hibs game, because that's just the kind of mindset you're in. How do you feel? I'm going to just mention a few things. He hasn't justified why there's a gap between us and Celtic. He hasn't justified the lack of consistency across the performances, and he hasn't justified not seeing any tangible improvements when he told us we would see that by October and November. Is it something about the way he speaks to us that riles us up even more when it comes to these points?
His press conferences are hopeless. He's full of nonsense, to be brutally honest with you. Full of broken promises. We were told we would see his improvements in October and November. You've seen him for maybe 4 matches in December. I think that's fair. 3 or 4 games between Tottenham and all that, and the cup final and whatever else. It's almost as if he's managed to get the players up for it, and then they fell off a cliff again via his team selection. I don't know, Billy, to be brutally honest with you. I don't know what's going to need to happen for him to lose his job, because he should have lost it the night we get beat at Pittodrie for me, and we went 9 points behind second place. You should never ever be in that position as a Rangers manager. And I was all one for this being like a transition season, but no phone 14 points behind. Celtic could play a youth team against us in the second, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to influence anything. It's not going to change nothing, because they're still going to go on and win a league. So not even competing is there. We've had a chance to batter ahead of Aberdeen these last 2 games, and we're still only a point ahead, maybe 2 points ahead now. Still got a game in hand right enough, but I really don't see how if or when it's going to happen, because it should have happened by now, if that makes any sense.
I think we've all had different. I mean, we did a pod 2 months ago called "Kicking the Can Down the Road," because we said back then that we didn't see this changing.
And that's all we've done since, is kick the can down the road.
From 1 or 2, promising performances, like the Kilmarnock game, drawing with Tottenham is a good result. We've narrowly missed out on a cup down to penalties. These are, you know what I mean? They're not they're not travesties or whatever.
Exactly. Sorry, Billy, but exactly. But then he comes in and gives you that starting lineup at that first half in Paisley, and then that first half at Fir Park. That's what he's following up with. So if a manager's not being consistent, how does he expect his new shiny team to be consistent or learn to be consistent with each other? They can get themselves close to where we need them to be, and then it just all falls apart. Do you know what I mean? Sorry to cut you off, Billy.
No, that's all right. I was just going to ask Ryan, because it's already been answered by all our other answers, but I mean, is there any confidence left with the fans that he can turn this round in the longer term?
He's a dead man walking. I've been saying that for months. He's a dead man walking.
The problem we've got as well, Cammy, is That's okay, Ryan. That's fine. Cammy, is that 2 days' time is January the 1st, so we get to spend some money. If he's still here, do you trust him to spend it wisely?
Not at all. I think loan signings would be all that I would be sanctioning in January if he does survive to the end of the transfer window. Loans and pre-contracts that you can potentially get for the boy Cameron at Dundee or something like that, if you can get him for 50 grand or something along those lines. But the transfer window seems like it's only a few days away, but I don't even want to think. You know, my love for the transfer window in the current situation, there's so many things that need fixed that you could upgrade in every position, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm just reading one of the comments. Doesn't spend the money, but he's involved in the identification of the players. He signed Diomande with an idea how he was going to play him. Well, that's what I thought happened when you signed a player. But do you know what I mean? We've committed to $4.5 million for Cortez off the back of an injury, and then he's been injured again. So listen, the manager's under pressure. Coppin's under as much pressure as anybody for me, but he seems to be like he's been promoted. Clearly, those in senior positions at Ibrox obviously believe that he's the man to oversee a revolution and all that sort of stuff. But the jury's out on Niels Coppin as well as Clermont for me.
Well, look, we've spent over half the time of the podcast talking about the manager, and I did want to do a kind of overview of where Rangers are at the moment. So feel free to bring any comments back to the manager if it suits it. But I did want to move on to look at the squad and then the club as a whole, the backroom structure as a whole. So, Ryan, I've got strengths and weaknesses as one of the key points. What area do you think is needing a major improvement, first of all?
Need a proven goal scorer. A 30-35 goal a year season, goal scorer is what we're after. That. I listed number 9. I know they're not as easy to come round as what you would like them to, but ultimately that's where we're leaking goals like a sieve. But ultimately, if we score more than what they score, we win the game. We need that goal scorer. It's paramount for us. Cyril Dessers is done for me. Got to get him out the door.
Who, Ryan? Who do you want?
Sorry, you go.
I don't know. I know everyone's talking about Lawrence Shankland. I agree with what you were saying earlier on. If we'd signed Shankland last January, we would win the league. I truly believe that. And everyone says, well, he doesn't fit the model of player trading and stuff like that. Well, that's fine. But, you sign him for £5 million and then you get a £50 million Champions League bonus in the back of it. So there's other ways to use players to make money. You don't have to sign players to sell them to make money. You sign players at a certain amount of money that win you competitions that bring you money. So I'd have done Shankland last January. I'd probably still take him, to be honest with you, because the whole this Europa League situation where you've got to have so many Scottish players in your squad, and I think we're actually a bit thin with that side. And that may be actually one of the only reasons we actually keep Dessers, is because we'd only leave ourselves Liga money for the last 2 games of the Europa League at this moment in time. I brought to you that boy for the Latvian League, the Brazilian boy. I think he's scored something like 25 goals in 28 games in the Latvian League so far. Spoke about Shades of Morelos, a young South American playing his trade in a Northern European league, waiting for a chance to get picked up by another club. So I'd certainly be going to look at him, see what he can offer. Apart from that, I'm fresh out of ideas, to be honest. I have no idea.
Scotty, we'll go through the spine of the team, because I didn't think I was going to say this a few weeks ago, but Jack Butland has been a worry for me. And I think I said it in the pod the other day, there's a shout for Kelly to be given the number 1 at the moment.
I think Liam Kelly was signed as the number 2, and I think he's good enough to be a Rangers number 2. I think he could come in and do a job short term, do to Butland what we done to Tav. Drop him.
Yeah. Yep.
Give him a shake, let him come back in, find his best form. Ultimately, Billy, see when the whole England thing came about and Southgate came up with Ibrox to watch Butland, his form's fell off a cliff since then.
Yeah.
He's not been playing at the same level since he never got that call up that he really wanted. So is that a motivation thing? Another thing you could look at with Butland is, should we have sold him to Nottingham Forest when that bid came in deadline day? Is that another thing where we've got a missed opportunity because now we've got a player that's out of form, that's struggling under pressure. He's no relationships with his centre halves. This is why I think he needs a game or two out and bring Liam Kelly in just to give him that break.
Cammy, we've maybe only got one centre half, and I'm sure Ryan can give us some stats on him. He's not the best.
I think you referenced the spine of the side. I think you started talking there about Jack Butland. I've been consistent on when we spoke about transfer windows that until we strengthen the spine of the side right through, and that's centre half, centre midfield, centre forward, until you get the quality right through the heart of the side, nothing's going to change. We brought in Proper to replace Goldson, and my God, that's the biggest downgrade in history. And Ryan will obviously give us some stats to back that up. To be honest with you, he's a guy that just isn't suited to Scottish football mentally or physically, and the best thing for him would be to go back to Holland in January. I know that would leave us with nothing at all, but I think it would suit all parties. But whether it's Philip Clement or whether it's Pep Guardiola, until you fix the spine of the side and you get a stronger spine, physically stronger, not just like players to play in those positions, guys that are dominant and strong personalities and all that sort of stuff. Until we do that, we'll just, this Groundhog Day that we appear to have every 15 to 18 months will just continue.
So Ryan, I was opening you up there. You mentioned before we started the pod, you had a few bits of details on Robin Proper. So go over what you found out for us.
Aye, so just kind of basically try to analyse what's going on with him. So he's been at the club for 29 games in all competitions so far. He wasn't involved in the first game of the season against Hearts at Tynecastle. He wasn't signed at that point. He's been an unused sub in 5 of those 29 games, which is quite a lot, to be honest with you, considering he was brought in to be the replacement for Goldson. I don't think we'd have seen Goldson be an unused sub for 5 of those games, to be honest with you. He was usually one of the first names in the team sheet. Of the games he has started, he's been substituted 6 times as well, which I think we probably all agree that subbing your centre-halves is quite unusual, to be honest with you. Your centre-halves usually get 90 minutes. It's usually your kind of centre midfielders, your strikers and stuff like that usually kind of get rotated, your wingers. So your centre-halves usually play 90 minutes along beside your goalkeeper. But he's been subbed off 6 times, just through poor performances, to be honest with you. A couple of times he has played 90 minutes for us, beat 4-1 against Lyon at Ibrox. Thought defence was particularly poor that night. Put out the Champions League by Kiev. He played 90 minutes that night. And then funnily enough, games that he wasn't involved in, beat Kilmarnock 6-0, beat Ross County 6-0. So it's crying out for me. He shouldn't be anywhere near a blue jersey under any bearing. I think he was epitomised. We don't want to really talk about the game yesterday, but the first goal, the header's chronic, to be honest with you. It doesn't look like a commanding centre-half or anything like that. A commanding centre-half's, it's not even, he's at the ball before the guys even closed him down, to be honest with you. He's ready to play and he's headed it miles away. It's right up in the opposition's half. He's just simply not got it. It's as simple as that.
Scott, I've felt exactly the same. He's just not strong physically enough. And I also don't get this, we can't sign strong physical players because they'll get carded all the time. If they're good players, they can still be physical. But we're in a big kind of bad position when it comes to this central defence.
You just need to look at John Souttar, don't you? The amount, the physicality element that he brings. But the other thing you need to be a Rangers centre-half is you need to be a ball-dominant centre-half. It's not just a case of putting the ball in Rose head all the time. That's what we all want because we've not got it just now, but you need both to a certain degree. Souttar's got both to a certain degree, but you need somebody that's going to slot in next to him and become like a kind of a long-term partner. One needs to be better at physical stuff and the other one needs to be better at the playing the ball out for the back stuff but can still handle himself. it's a fine line you need to find at centre half for me. But if Football was the way it was, don't get me wrong, this team under come on, we could play with Marvin Andrews at the back, no bother, because the ball just constantly gets punted up over everybody anyway. I mean, folk gave Diamande a hard time, Billy, and the ball never gets played through Diamande, the ball gets played everywhere but him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But in terms of centre half, Xander's just brought up Katic in the chat. Is that somebody? Katic periodically looked really, really good. Is that somebody that maybe would have come in, like, shined in a Rangers jersey now? You know what I mean? Aye, that's where we're at. But sell proper, send them back to Holland. Be brutal with it. Be brutal with it. There's no point hanging about for another 6 months. And see all this part about Ben Davies coming back there. Ben Davies has been tried and tested, and it failed with him and all. So leave him down at Birmingham and sign somebody that's actually going to come in and do the job at hand.
I fully agree with you, mate. Cammy, one area I do think we're actually got a bit of strength is the central midfield. I know Scotty's saying the ball gets punted over them a lot, but when it doesn't and it goes through them, we do quite well with Diamande, Raskin, Hadji as well when he plays a bit deeper. I'm quite happy if we could build on the kind of more attacking side. I'm quite happy with the central midfielder side.
Yeah, I agree that there's some decent quality in there. I still think we lack a bit of depth with regard to that. I think we're now in a situation Raskin and Barron are effectively playing for the one shirt, which is fine. You've got Tom Lawrence, who's obviously going to be out of contract at the end of the season. Hadji's going into the last 15 months of his contract, so there is options there, but I still don't think we have the movement and the goal threat and the creativity. I spoke about it in the post-match yesterday. We don't have a pattern of play. We don't have... I like Nico Raskin. I like Connor Barron, but none of them are dominant centre midfield players for me that can spray passes about or can create or can break into the box. You know I'm looking for Barry Ferguson circa 2000, but those sort of players don't come around once in a they are once in a generation sort of situation. But middle of the park, I still think we need more, Billy. Although I do agree that there is. But you look at Diamande, you know, he looks short of confidence, and that's a guy that he's probably thinking to himself 12 months down the line, what am I doing in Scotland? To be perfectly honest with you, you know, I'm a footballer, get me out of here, sort of situation. You know, it's and it's not a laughing matter, but to be honest with you, we need quality in all positions. But I think the middle of the park we still need more as well, Billy.
Scott, one thing he mentioned there, Barry Ferguson, and obviously Barry Ferguson's a great youth prospect that came through. We've not had anybody, I'm not going to try and say we've had anybody a similar quality, but one thing I have noticed is that Clement hasn't used very many of the youths or progressed them through. He talked a big deal in the beginning, but very little of it's actually... You get players sitting on the bench when the game's done and they could come on and they don't.
Aye, Mick Beale says the same thing. I'm a youth coach. I'll give them minutes. The only one that I think was trying to do in the youth system was Gio. Tried to give King a run of games and develop Bassey at centre back and all this kind of stuff. That was the only slight hope I've seen, and even Gio wasn't great at that. Clement's he's just an absolute laugh when it comes to putting youth on the park. Bailey Rice is at 5 minutes. Robbie Fraser comes on against Tottenham randomly for 15 minutes. He's now linked to a move to Portsmouth, I think, for £200,000. Whereas, how did you not move Ridvan out in the summer? He injured himself hitting a shot against Ross County. Yeah. Just let Robbie Fraser and Jeff Day fight out at left back. It makes sense, you know what I mean? That is a club we need to do better. But back to your point, come on, no, he's not getting any of them a game. Lovelace should be. There's a bit of a clamour for Lovelace, and there's a lot of injuries and stuff in the mix there. But surely left mid with 20 minutes to go, if you're not bringing on Cortez, Lovelace might have created you something against St Mirren. Yeah. Or put him on the right or whatever. sometimes you need that element of no fear to come on and play. Ross McCausland, he's looks a shadowy player he is. I know he's picked up a lot of niggly injuries and stuff this season though, so that isn't a criticism. It's more a criticism of the manager's use of him.
Zach Lovelace was the one I was hoping you'd bring up, mate, because I just felt he should have had more time. Ryan, the other point I've got with the squad is should be a bit more lenient with Clement because of the injuries he had at the beginning of the season.
No, I don't think so. I think he's they get this. It's difficult when he's picked up somebody else's toolbox. He's still trying to pick up the things, obviously the wrongs that Beale did for us. But he's still a manager. He's still a professional football manager. He still should be getting more out of the players that are there. He's actually signed. I've got this written down. He's actually signed 12 players since Beale left, and I don't think any of them are coming off the page. To be honest, Cherny, Egeman, Diamandi, the rest of them, barring maybe, but he's going to know everything for me, to be honest.
Fair enough, mate. Cammy, I was going to move on to briefly, or not briefly, but at least another 10 minutes or so, talk about the board, the back room, whatever you want to call the club as a whole, because number one, it doesn't seem like a lot of them like each other who are running the club. At least though in the last few months, we have put in place a new CEO and a new chairman. And what I'm hoping to see from them is some kind of leadership and accountability. What about yourself?
Well, I think you're starting to see things happening, the key positions that have been neglected and a sound structure. No football club's ever going to be successful if off the pitch is an even bigger bin fire than what it is on the pitch. So we're now putting sort of the blocks in place, and you just have to trust these people to do their job and take it forward. But ultimately, it comes back to the football. What happens on the pitch is what Rangers as a football club is all about. But I'm pleased that we're starting to see it's not important in what's going on in the grand scheme of things on the pitch at the moment. But the CEO, the chairman, there's reports today about a comms executive coming in who's been at the SFA and Man United, and I think he's at Brentford now, so he's obviously working his notice, and he'll be here in April. Communications is an area that I've always moaned about, for a long time. We're very, very amateurish in the way that we communicate in so many aspects. So yeah, we are starting to put the blocks off the pitch, and that has to be part of a stable football club. These people have to remain in position. You can't have like Bisgrove getting promoted and then at the first opportunity only being interested in himself and his own career and jumping at the first sign of a better opportunity. You hope that the people that are coming in are going to give us a level of stability, because constant change on and off the park, that's why the other side of the city are so successful, that they have a sound organisation, and they all work seamlessly together, and that helps bring a success on the park. So yeah, we're moving small steps with regard to that, Billy, but we just have to let the people that are coming in do their job, and hopefully it's successful.
Scotty, I mean, the guys that came in and took over the mess from 2012, we're appreciative of it. I know we don't have the money that they had to be able to get the club back into good hands, but it seems like I've read so many times online or Twitter or whatever, only our club could this happen, and then something else goes on. Oh, only our club could this happen. The board going forward, Patrick Stewart's going to be running things. What I'm worried about is, does he report everything back to them and get an okay, or is he okay to go and make these decisions by himself? Your thoughts on that?
From what I gather, I think he's been given the keys to the kingdom, as far as I'm led to believe, from what I've read. This all goes back to Souness on TalkSport for me, Billy, and there wasn't enough football-minded people in the club. We've now got one, and we're letting him run it, and he's going about his business nice and quietly in the background. But he's going to start feeling pressure if the results keep going as they are and the manager's still in place. This is when the narrative could turn on this guy, and then you start wondering. Now, he came out and said when he first got it, there's got to be an element of me speaking to fans, yes, but there's also got to be an element of you letting me get on my job. Aye, granted, but well, go on with your job and bag a gaffer, because he's not bringing in what he says he was going to bring in. He's got his laughing stock just now, so that's got to be something on Patrick Stewart's. That's got to be highest on his agenda, never mind bringing in communication guys for Brentford. I know that's probably all been in the pipeline before, but to me, he needs to pause everything and fix things on the football field, or speak to whoever's got like whoever's come on's boss is basically, and get us sorted out. That's where he's going to make his credit, where Rangers support is making big calls like that, or coming out and speaking to us when there's speculation like this. So that's where I'm at. I'm happy with the job he's doing so far, though, Billy. He's putting the right people in the right places.
Fair enough, mate. And Ryan, Cammy's touched on it. I was going to bring it up, but we are going to be bringing in a new fan communication board person. It's been pretty bad the last 5 years or so, I would say, as long as that, the communication from the board. What do they need to do to change that?
Well, the ideas that they've got, they had that fan engagement board. I think they had, there's a few names on that I recognise. Gary Alston was one that I recognised as well. He's had a lot to do with a wee bit of the kind of the story kind of side of things. He was a journalist as well, so I recognise his name on it. But we don't hear anything about what this fan engagement board's doing. There are these fans forums in Edmondson House that I've never seen an invite for. I don't know how you managed to get a ticket for it, and it all seemed very scripted and very fake, to be honest with you. I don't think they engage enough with the likes of the Rangers Supporters Association, which is basically all of our different supporters clubs, all of our different travel buses, all subscribe to this Supporters Association, and they elect a board. They've raised concerns before, but nothing ever seems to get done on it. I think the last one they had, Niels Coppin was at it. The commercial guy that's just left, he showed up at the meeting with his CV for the guys for some weird apparent reason. So it kind of shows you the wee bit kind of out of tune and what we're looking for. They need to know. The only thing that all of our different fans will come across and say different things, and we've all got different needs and wants for our football club. And there's certain things we'd like to see done better. Ultimately, we just want to see silver in the cabinet at the end of the season. And if they deliver that for us, see all the wee kind of small niggly things, they'll take care of themselves. And fans won't be at them for all the wee small niggly things, because if they listen, the feel-good factor and the love of the club will be there. They'll listen, I'm not too bothered the fact that I never get a seat, I never get a ticket for my Gers all season. But it doesn't matter, because I watched every game of the telly, we won every game. It was fantastic and I loved every moment of it. So they've got to get the things right, and it's like what Scotty was saying: fix the football department first, and bring in guys, communication guys, and this and the next thing. That's all great. Bring us a bloody number 9 striker that can score goals first of all. Sort that out first. That's the be all and end all. Start winning football games and worry about the rest of it later.
No, you're fine. That's fine to bring that up, mate. I just want to see where everybody is when it comes to what do they care about the back running of the club? I don't think we do when we're winning, but no, that's good to have your points. One other thing I want to stay on, Cammy, with yourself, just think you might be have a lot to say about it, is the club's relationship with the rest of the teams in the Premier League and the SPFL and SFA. We don't seem to have a good relationship with anybody, to be honest with you. Kilmarnock, maybe. Behind the scenes, if you know what I mean. How do we go? I'll give you an example. Motherwell get a penalty given against him the other day. They thought it was very light. The manager says nothing about it. And then yesterday, he's screaming his head off that we got this and we got that. That doesn't come from a place of respecting us both the same. That comes from he's scared of the one and not scared of the other. So where does the board or the CE go about improving our relationships with the other clubs and the government bodies?
I think the structure of the pitch that's where it is important. Celtic have controlled the narrative in the SPFL, the SFA. They've put their placemen in for the last 20-25 years. They've built they've almost planted their people into these situations. We've had continuous change. We've went down to the lower leagues all the way back. There's been so much change, different people in situations, in senior positions. That's not a quick fix. I don't know how you change that overnight. All Rangers can do is get the people in the positions off the pitch to try and building better working relationships with other Scottish teams. There's not a great love of Rangers. We don't have a great love for any other teams. Although it was interesting to see that Rangers in the communication for Thursday are delighted to welcome Celtic to Ibrox, which if ever there was an advert for a communication improvement, that's there it is. My 7-year-old could have wrote something more appropriate, to be honest with you. But off the pitch, there's a lot of work to do with regard to trying to build relationships. But I think that isn't the priority. I think, as Ryan says, the winning team on the park masks a lot of other things. When you're lifting trophies and stuff, the non-important things are put to the side. If your captain's lifting a trophy a couple of times a season, I'm sure the other side of the city have got things that gnaw away at them with regard to certain things, but ultimately they're lifting trophies and they're progressing in the Champions League and so on and so forth. But I've went round the houses a wee bit there, Billy. But I think off the pitch, we're building the structure, building relationships. It's Rangers want to do a lot of things for the betterment of Scottish football with regard to B teams, etc. There's no support from the wider Scottish football. They just think, what are Rangers wanting to do that for? We're not going to help Rangers sort of situation, and that's the sort of insular attitude that you have within Scottish football.
No, thanks, Cammy, for the thoughts on that. We'll ask a major question with regards the boardroom, and I guess it really affects the team, and it's more about, do we let anybody go in January to try and fund a new manager, Scotty, if that's going to be something that happens? Ridvan, for instance.
Aye, but I don't think we should need to be honest with you, Billy. There's got to be something in Cumberland's contract that is performance related. You can't give him that extra year, and a bump in pay when he's only won a League Cup, and then not have something to cover your back in case something like this happens. Now, whether the board's seen this happening or not, I don't know. I don't think anybody's seen this situation being this bad at this point.
Yep.
I think it's fair to say. But there's got to be something that we can do in terms of, if we've got to sell a player to sack a manager, there's something badly wrong. That's bigger questions need to be asked if that's what you need to do. You know what I mean? Any money that come in for players, guys like Ridvan, Dibble, Dessers. I mean, between Dessers and Ridvan, you should be able to get at least 5 million between the two of them, minimum. But whether Rangers can actually have got the faculties up here to negotiate deals like that is beyond me. And you need clubs to be interested in these players too, don't you? But Rangers need to find a way to pay Cumberland off, because I've been banging the drum all night now, mate. It's not working, and I'm expecting it to be. Will this be 7 games without? Is it already 7? 7 without beating them. This potentially could be 8 that he's coming up to if he doesn't get a win. And you can get all your as close to them as you want and get beaten penalties. If you don't win a game, you don't win a game. Nobody remembers losers, only remember winners.
No, quite right. And maybe I worded it wrong. I wasn't meaning selling a play to sack the managers, meaning get to free up funds if we do, but that's my fault. Look, I'll go around the houses just to kind of say a final thoughts. Cammy, we've looked fairly comprehensively, I would say, over the manager, especially the squad and where they are and what the board are doing at the moment. But you've got the keys to the kingdom for the next 6 months. What's your short-term plan because we've still got we still have a cup, we technically have a league, and we still have the European Europa League to play in. So what are you hoping to see over the next 6 months? And it can be anything you want.
The manager binned by the end of January. Interim appointment made till the summer with a view to a permanent appointment coming in on the 1st of June. I don't think a mid-season appointment does the person coming in any favours at all. You know, I just think you're up against it. You know, start with a clean slate come the summer. We're going to finish second because Aberdeen have, and I think that's the thing about our dropping points recently. We're actually very fortunate that Aberdeen's form has fallen off a cliff. That's kept us in second place, to be honest with you. The fact that they can't buy a win. So the manager will go regardless of what happens on Thursday. Don't know when it will happen. I think Scotty, I was on a pod with him a few weeks ago, and I had said mid-January when we played the game in hand against Aberdeen, I think we would have a clearer. I don't think it's quite panned out the way that I expected with regard to Aberdeen regressing so much. I think it's an interesting one that an attack-minded coach. Don't complicate Scottish football. Isn't complicated? It's not a proper league. You know, it's just put a team on the park that's actually organised and actually has a way of playing. It doesn't attacking football. It has to be winning football. That's you know, I've said it before. Walter Smith used to always say, you just have to find a way to win. You know, Walter Smith's Rangers teams were never always silky soccer, but they always found a way to win, and they won the big matches and getting the mentality. So the change in the manager has to happen. We could win 5-0 on Thursday. Doesn't change the fact that Philip Clement has ran his race. He's lost the majority of the Rangers support, but I don't want a permanent appointment made until the summer. So that would be, if I was Patrick Stewart, that would be what I would be looking at. We're going to finish second, try and somehow lift the Scottish Cup, and maybe get fortunate in the Europa League. But the season's pretty much dead, to be honest with you. And you're going into this game, and I've never felt so little battle fever going into a game against them in my life. You know, I'm sure by the time I see Ryan at 3:00 on Thursday afternoon, that might have changed, to be honest with you. But at this moment in time, it's you know, it feels just like a kickabout. You know, 2nd of January, and it doesn't actually mean anything, to be honest with you. But so, as I have done a few times, I've went round the houses, but replace the manager, bring in an interim appointment. Who that is, I don't know. It certainly won't be Billy Davis or Neil. Who was that dude that was at Aberdeen that I got my picture taken with? Neil Warnock. Anybody along, I have got no candidates. Patrick Stewart may, with his wide contacts for Man United, you might end up with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or something like that to the end of the season. But I think give the next manager the best opportunity by appointing them to be in place like Dick Advocaat did back in 2000 from the 1st of June.
Well, thanks for being on, Cammy. If only we had the man behind your head just now lifting that trophy to at least advise us. Walter Smith behind you, mate. At least advise us on what we should be looking at, because I said, you know, what Souness said about not enough Rangers men in the board is shown to be true by what we're seeing on the park. So thanks, Cammy, for coming on. Ryan, yourself, same kind of question. Again, thank you for coming on tonight, but what would you like to see in the short term?
No problem. Pleasure as usual. It's not very often I disagree with Cammy, to be honest with you. We're usually, our thoughts are aligned when it comes to all things Rangers. But I agree that the manager's time's up. I think we all agree on that. But I do think we should actually look to make an appointment sooner rather than later in the interim. And quite often we see with players that we occasionally sign in January, you sign them so they have that kind of 6-month bedding-in period so that they're ready for the start of the following season. And I think if we wait till the summer to sign a manager, how long does that give the manager to identify his targets, get his targets in the door, put his kind of thoughts and his tactics and stuff across as well, his style of play and his kind of ethos and the way he wants to see the football department run. I don't think the money's there for a radical changeover. If we do get a new manager, I don't think you're going to see the same kind of rebuild that we've seen with other managers. I think we're going to be quite resourceful with what's actually in the building. I think we've just got to get more out of it. So if we do see the manager away, I'd like to see a manager coming in sooner rather than later. I think the season is pretty much a write-off. Certainly in the league, it's gone. It's beyond hope to try and claw that back. The Europa League still to play for, the Scottish Cup still to play for. But I'd like to give the manager a chance, the new manager a chance if and when one comes in. He's going to have at least 2 games against our biggest rivals. He's going to play every other team in the league, I think, before the split as well. So he's going to get the opportunity to assess the opposition as well to see what we're actually going to be up against next season. So I would rather see somebody now, to be honest with you. So all we talk over the social media channels with Kevin Muscat. We should have probably taken him last time he applied for the job. On hindsight now, looking at it, I think that's the obvious choice. But we'll wait and see what comes of it.
No, thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming on. If I can propose a kind of meeting point between the two of you, I certainly would have an interim manager with the understanding we've appointed someone who's going to start in the summer and let him do all that stuff you were talking about, Ryan. But not be tarred with another possible 2 Old Firm defeats before he really gets his feet under the table. But that's just my 2 cents. Thanks for coming on. Scotty, mate, again, good to see you. Good to have you on. Thank you very much. Any final thoughts on what you'd like to see happen?
What I would like to see happen is obviously come on out. I think I've made that perfectly clear. I want us to decide on a direction in terms of, are we going forward with a style and an identity at Rangers that we're going to work with, or are we going to go out and bring in domestic success? Is that the priority? So is it winning football, or is it modern day football where we're a modern club, we're going forward with a brand, so to speak, right? Because that's what football seems to be all about now. You look at clubs like Benfica and you know what they're about, Dortmund, etc., etc. Is that what we want to be, or do we want to just be a winning football club? That's the 2 that I want us to decide on a route and stick to it. The answer, I believe, is Kevin Muscat, and I think you could probably get Kevin Muscat on an interim basis. Give him a 6-month deal. His contract runs out tomorrow. Give him a 6-month deal. See how he reacts, and then make it a rolling deal after that, just like a mob day over his city. Give him a rolling contract, just to see how it all kind of pans out, and then you're not tying yourself down to nothing. If Muscat would come in on a kind of interim basis and we can get a look at what he can do, if it doesn't work, then you can go, right, fine, you come in, interim coach, you've got it in your record, we know we don't want you, done, we can then plan and go in this direction, if you know what I mean. Whereas if it comes in and it works, and we like what we see, then we can continue to plan in that direction. But either or, Billy, I just want Rangers to make their minds up whether they're going to go forward with an identity and playing style, which could be Muscat or domestic success. And then you're looking at closer to Hamey, you're looking at guys like McInnes and Moyes and Graham Potter and all these kind of imaginary guys that they could potentially come in. That's my 50p's worth, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks again, mate. Now, I always plug the podcast apps if you like to listen to a podcast. So please, if you do, or you know someone who does and is a Rangers fan, please let them know you can get the Rangers Journal episodes on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all your usual places. Scotty, I was going to come to you because we've recently got the Rangers Journal website. Do you want to plug that for me a wee bit? Is it rangersjournal.com?
Aye, it's rangersjournal.com. Dave's glad. Big thanks to Dave. He's set up for us. We've had a whole new load of student journalists that have joined as well, and they're taking our writing department up at a new level. We've always kind of matched previews and kind of player ratings. This went up on a YouTube channel. They'll still be available on there, but they'll also be available over on the website. The guys that have taken over, the scouting team that have taken over the Cotton Report, Gordon and Josh, are absolutely smashed out of the park. They put out that kind of video last night of kind of out of the box managerial appointments, which I thought was a really, really good idea. So there's different things going on. Me and Doug are working to try and develop the tactics board side of it a wee bit more as well, where you're not just getting opposition low down. Me and Doug could then maybe sit down and do a pod where even if it's just still images of where games were potentially won and lost tactically. We're trying to find contributors for that as well. So there's hundreds of things going on, but as I say, Billy, cheers again.
No, thanks a lot, mate, and thanks for letting people know about that. And yeah, please search for the website, come read the blogs, the match reports, the player ratings, all the things you usually get. We're hoping to get bigger here, so please join us on that journey. Thanks again, everyone. Sorry if I went a wee bit long this evening, longer than I meant, but it's kind of that time where you want to get a few things said. So just leaves me to say thanks again for watching, and remember, every night is the Rangers Journal night. Good night.